Hi guys, welcome to the second installment of our Facket Hour, where we go through and answer all questions that you might have. So feel free to sort of, as in the last one, put through your questions. But it's an exciting 1 hour session today because we'll be going through some much needed features that's been introduced, particularly this snap and a few others. But before I really kick on, what I'll do is I'll give it a few more minutes, few more moments just to be able to let the attendees sort of rush in. We've got quite a large group that's sort of attending today, so I'll just give it a few more moments before I kick off. While we're waiting, I hope everyone is staying safe, especially those in Sydney and Queensland. I guess it's our turn to, in the shutdown, because I know Victoria's been on and off for a year, so they're probably looking and saying nothing new for them. So, but I hope everyone's staying safe. And what I'll also do in this session, touch on how some clients have been using Can I Build to do virtual Zoom sessions and things like that, especially for clients that might be in lockdown. So, but I'll give it a few more moments for those people that join in. We're also casting live to Facebook, so feel free to ask questions there or within this Zoom session. Well, we're 3 minutes in, so what I'll do is I'll kick off as people join in. I'm sure they'll still get quite a value on this session. So for those that don't know me, Timothy Cocaro, I'm the founder of Can I Build. Thank you. Oh, we've got one of our users from Florida, which is fantastic. Thanks, Lee, for joining in. Not sure what the time is over there because it's the other side of the planet, but thanks for joining. Everyone, Timothy Cocaro, founder of Can I Build. We've got New Zealand as well, which is really fantastic. I'm sure we've got all four corners of Australia as well. Feel free to shout out if you're from Queensland or Victoria, Western Australia, etc. So in today's session, what we're planning on going through is touching on, as I said in the prelim, given the situation with the shutdown, I will touch on how Can I Build can be used in terms of live streaming, etc., and also staying in communication with your clients. But mainly we'll be touching on an exciting new feature that's been released, which is snap to boundary. I'm sure you're all missing that little white dot and rotating the design. I'm sure that was a fantastic experience for all, but I'm sure deep down we're glad to see that go. Drawing toggle won't show. Okay, so from New Zealand, we've got already a question in terms of the measuring tool. So I'll definitely touch on that. Rachel, definitely go through that. So just to run through those points, we're going to be talking about Snap. We'll be also talking about improvements that we've done on the deals page, as well as some other smaller features in terms of the mapping and aerial, as well as touching base on the payment gateway marketplace and how that's being currently used. So without further ado, I'll share my screen. We'll run through what those points are, and we'll kick things off. So hopefully my screen is running through fine there. Let me make sure that I'm on the right account, which I'm not. So just let me run through. All right, brilliant. Okay, so just to kick things off, what I'll do is I'll run to an address and I'll start showing the snap to boundary feature. I'm sure you've all already experienced its use, but let me just go to an address. I'm sure everyone that's seen a demo from me in the past will be absolutely shocked that I'm not going to Hood Street in Yaguna, but here we go. So here's an address. So basically what I want to be able to showcase here is how the snap function is actually working. It's it's self-evident, but I just wanted to sort of touch on how to turn it on, how to turn it off. And I'll run through how it's used in terms of different build types as well. So say, for example, I pick a design. Now, you can see here that it's already trying to snap. So if I start rotating this design, how it works is it'll find the boundary or the setback that is closest to snap to. So basically you can see it's snapping to this boundary. If I grab the design and start moving it to another setback, it'll snap to that setback. So basically it's quite intelligent in the way that it operates to be able to snap quite easily and without you having to sort of do much in terms of work to be able to snap that. And you can see how easy that is. A nice tip to use is, say, even if it's a large acreage block, especially for our shed companies, you can just snap to one boundary, then detach from that, and you'll stay parallel to the, both sides. So it's a nice way to be able to very quickly position the build parallel to the side boundaries. Now, it not only just snaps to the setback lines, it also can snap to the boundary lines. So it's quite intuitive in that way. We've done it both because most people are trying to align to a setback as opposed to a boundary. Okay, so we've already got a quick question in regards to what is T1 and T2. Now, T1 and T2 are the trees getting marked. Basically, that allows, it's just marking out these trees, which are showcasing these trees. If you hover over those numbers, you'll be able to see the height of the trees, which is a quite nice feature. So that's what T1 and T2 and T3 is for that question. I'll try to jump back and forth in terms of answering questions. So feel free to just keep them going, and rest assured that I'll get through all of them. So in terms of the snap, you've got that feature. Now, if we go back to designs and choose another type of build type, say for example, say a pool design, or let me just quickly. Hopefully I've got a curved one, which miraculously I don't. So if I just click one that's somewhat curved, you might not want to snap at all times. So in order to turn that snap off, what you can do is on the right-hand side, just below Hi Timothy, there's a few little icons here. The second to the end, which is looking like a magnet. If you click on that, you'll see the little zaps disappear, and then the snap feature will be turned off. That's particularly relevant if you've got like a curved pool, because it'll drive you quite insane to try to sort of fit that in. And then you can turn that feature off, which is quite nice as well. Just jumping to another question. Is this the turn off? Okay, so it's asking about the T1, T2. Mark, what I'll do is, I'm recording everyone that's raising the questions. I'll reach out afterwards and be able to sort of go into more detail in terms of our tree feature. And we haven't deployed the tree feature everywhere. We've done about 22 million so far, but we'll definitely sort of touch base after this. I won't forget. So any questions that I can't fully answer, I'll definitely get back to. So now, dropping back to the snap feature, I think we've pretty much covered how it functions. I'm sure everyone is happy with and definitely shout out if someone's not happy. I'm pretty transparent in that regards. But just another thing to touch on in terms of that snap feature, and let me just pick a design again. In order for it to rotate, just in case, because we did have some questions in regards to this, all you do is hover to any of the corners of the build in order to rotate. It doesn't have to be a certain corner. It can be any corner, and it's just that simple to be able to do. I've got snap off, that's why it's not snapping. And basically you're able to sort of rotate that from any point on any corner. So I hope that sort of makes it a lot easier from the previous way in which we've done. We've got another question in terms of is two-story now available? Two-story is getting launched next month. So that's one of the exciting features I want to sort of touch in this presentation, where basically two stories will be, you'll have an icon that appears on the right-hand side just below Hi Timothy, which you'll be able to switch between the ground floor and the second floor, see the setbacks of the second floor, also show how they both interrelate. So you'll be able to show clients exactly how the second floor fits. It'll showcase that, and it'll also show those setbacks. So we're incredibly excited to be able to have that feature. That feature will also be coupled with additional features such as marking out balconies, articulation zones, etc. So that's a really good development as well. A few other questions. Is there a way to put two designs on the plan, adding a pool and a spa? This is something that we've forward prioritized. Everyone has been asking for these features, especially say, for instance, pool, the example that was given just there, which is adding a pool as well as adding a spa. So next month, that feature will also be coming out. So essentially that may not also include the planning rule engine that's associated with multiple items, but at least you'll be able to visually show. We are trying to work that both of them coming concurrently, visually showing it as well as having the planning rule engine to accommodate the additional build ratios, etc., that would occur when you add two items. I've just got a few other questions. Clients with custom modified plans, are we able to upload them? So what I'll do in this session, I'll show an upload as well. We have had that question a few times, and I'll run through the upload process to show you how you can upload off-the-cuff designs. What I'll also do now is let me just, in terms of the snap feature, I believe we've covered everything. If anyone's got any questions for the snap feature, please send them through. Any feedback as to whether or not it's working for your in your given situation, it would be great to sort of hear that as well. Now, going on to the second point of this presentation, I'll also like to be able to talk about the deal function. So the deal function is to the right of the address. So by clicking on this little file cabinet that you can see here, what they'll do is, you've probably seen this already, you're able to create multiple versions on a given site. So you're able to say, for example, in this situation, you wanted to create a new version, you can simply click New Draft. If you click New Draft, that'll create a new canvas for this site to be able to give clients options A and B. Now, this part of the functionality is not new. This was always being able to be done. It might be unknown to some, but this function was already there. What is new, however, is your ability to click on these three little dots on the deal and create a copy. How that's used is, imagine you've done notations, say, for instance, on the trees or on features on the block of land as opposed to the proposed build, and you don't want to lose those points on your new revision. What you can do is copy a previous revision and simply modify that revision rather than starting from scratch. So you're able to do that. The other thing that you're able to do is you're able to click these three little dots here on the bottom left, and you're able to tag your deals. What do you do with tag? The tag can be, I want to sort of make this as option, say 3, just to show you how easy it is to add a new option. You might want to color code your options to make it a little bit more obvious or reflecting some internal coding. And then you can click save, and now that's option 3. You can have this as callback or warm or do this, do that. It's just meant to be able to very quickly be able to tag that deal, especially you might add a design name, or this is the expensive option that the client was contemplating, or the more cost-effective one. So you've got that function as well. We've got a few questions. I'll try to churn through those as well. Is there a way to put two designs? Yep, I've touched on that one. We've got another one. Clients with custom modified plans, are we able to upload them? I promise you in this session, I'll show an upload of a design. And just in terms of the upload, just be aware that you have to be set as an admin to be able to upload. So for those of you that haven't got that privilege, you want to be able to upload within your organization. So that's a point I wanted to make. So you have to speak to whoever in the office is the administrator to be able to either assign you as admin or be able to work a different solution for that. We've got another quick question, which is, once I've placed the designs on the block and have saved, there is 3 designs and I want to retrieve any one of them. Is that possible? As with the docs, I can only view one design. What that question is basically pointing to, guys, is if we click on docs, you can see here 6 versions. Currently, if you click on this flyer with 6 versions and click download, you'll get the most current version. We are working on being able to provide the different versions. We do have those in the system. So this is a minor feature upgrade, which is not minor because it's very beneficial for the team. That will be launched in the next month as well. So essentially in that next month, you'll be able to click a little eye that will be on this document. You'll be able to drill down and see all the versions, and you'll be able to select the previous version of the flyer and see how that iterates. So that's also a nice point. So in terms of the filing cabinet, this is an alternative to that situation at this current stage where you're able to click new versions and create new versions that way. But I do agree that's a valid point. And just to let you know, that will be coming into play next month. I think I've answered all the questions so far. Let me just double check. I've got a few in the chat as well, so just give me a moment. Okay, so Terry has asked, does that mean we'll be able to add a granny flat and a secondary dwelling? Yes, that's exactly what you'll be able to do. The only thing to clarify is there may be a chance we miss our next month deadline in terms of showing both the second granny flat and the combined rules of the granny flat and the secondary dwelling. That's the only thing that I don't want to sort of promise at this stage. We are working to do that. So what that means is if you add a house, a granny flat, a pool, a shed, 2 sheds, another pool, another spa, the idea for Can I Build is to ensure that they all comply as a consolidated development as opposed to individually. But given that this feature is in such high demand, what we are doing is being able to show the main structure, say a house, and then show a pool and visually show that pool, visually show that granny flat, so you can speak to the client, generate site plans showing both of those build types. So I hope that's an interim solution, but irrespective, everything will be launched in the next month or 2 in terms of this. We've got another question from Jane. Is it possible to have a larger font when using the measurement feature? Hoping you're going over how to use this one. I'm referring to the square icon in the top right-hand corner. Yes, I'll show that the very next thing I'll do. In terms of the sizing of the fonts, this is something that we're working on right now. You can notice that we have already done improvements in terms of the dimensions of the boundary, for example, that you can see here, the 26 meters. We are working tirelessly to make sure that these dimensions both work at high levels and scale, as well as a zoomed in view. So I understand that the segment lengths, for instance, in the measuring tool isn't spot on right now, and it's something we're working on, but I'll definitely touch on that. But I hope you can see we are focused on ensuring these dimension points are clearer and clearer. So in terms of the deals, guys, I hope this is also a welcome feature. The other nice advantage is when you associate a deal with a client. So say, for instance, I'm adding this as, if anyone's done demos with me, they just understand why all of them are Jim. So if I click on Jim Charles, you can see that in the deals, it's now grouping under that client. So I've done one under Jim Charles, I've done one under Jim Harris, I've done one under Jim, actually 3 under Jim Yang. So this is particularly relevant for larger builders in particular that may have, say, multiple consultants selling on a unregistered block of land. There's multiple clients and you're able to sort of group those. The advantage is, depending on your visibility, you might only see the deals that you've created, but the sales manager might log into this address, for example, and see all the clients and all the deals that are occurring throughout their entire sales team. Got a few more questions. I hope everyone's happy with the pace in which we're going and me just sort of trying to jump back and forth in terms of the questions. It's meant to be a more interactive session as opposed to a sermon by me. So how do you mirror reverse floor plans? That's definitely an easy one that I can sort of hit into now. So let me just show you that. The question is, how do we mirror designs? On the right-hand side below Hi Timothy, that's where we've got all the widgets for all the features you can apply to the map. So if I add a design, rotate, snap, and position. Say we want the garage on the other side. On the right-hand side, just below Hi Timothy, there's a few icons. This one here, flip structure, just below the eyeball. You can just flip the structure that way and sort of flip and mirror image and show that design. If you need to flip and rotate, you just flip and rotate it to get the exact position that you want. And while I'm on this sidebar, the other feature that you can do, which is sometimes forgotten, if you ever find yourself moving things to see what's underneath them, you don't have to do that. Just simply click the eyeball and it'll hide all the measurements, all the features, and just show the floor plan. And then you can just click the eyeball again just to be able to see those things as well. So you don't need to just move annotations and move polygons that you might create. So there was a question earlier in terms of measurement tool. So let's touch on that. So we've got this polygon here. On the right-hand side, just below Hi Timothy, there's these options in terms of what you can draw on site, and I'll be able to showcase how you can use those. So one is, if I click the square polygon, if you've got snap on, you're able to then snap to the plan and basically draw a line that is squared. Now, the advantage here, you can use this to visually show extensions to the build. When you lap around, it'll mark. Now, unless you've got a telescope, I agree with the comment that these measurements need to improve in terms of their size. So this is something that we'll definitely do for next month and work on it straight away. So I apologize for that. And I hope I'm being transparent in terms of where we need to sort of improve. And these measurements are definitely something that needs to be improved, because our intention isn't to make everyone go slightly blind over the course of time using this app. So you're able to show this extension, say, to a master bedroom. Typically an alfresco would have been a better choice. You can click on any of these measurings and change its color. Say, for instance, red to signify demo, for example. You're also able to change whether or not the line's going to be dotted. If you don't want to show it as a solid, to show that this is indicating a notional, say, storage area, or mark an area indicatively to associate it with an annotation, for example, and say blah note in conjunction with this. The other thing that you're able to do, yes, you can change the transparency, so you can make it a more solid, totally solid, or more transparent, whatever is the preference. But a nice feature that many of you may have not noticed is if you click this little pen with the nodes on it, the second from the left, yes, you can alter the corners, which is quite straightforward. But if you actually hover over the line itself and click on the line, you're able to actually drag that line square. So you're able to very quickly modify, and this is really relevant for, say, for example, our frescoes, etc., to be able to say, is this the measurement that you want? The other thing that you can do that is probably not known is if you start measuring a line, you're able to start doing things like, let me just quickly mark this out. You're able to, if you get the position, and say you want to start drawing a line in this way, if you press enter, you can actually put in the measurement that you want. So say, for instance, you want a 5 by 5 square. If you type 5, let's just type something smaller than 3, enter, 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 you'll actually be able to sort of dictate the measurement. You can start saying, okay, I want 3 by 2 by 5 by 10 by 11, and start measuring out a floor plan. A lot of our custom home builders, when they're developing, say, a mud map for a design, they're able to very quickly do something like this and mark out a mud map and say, hey, is this the structure that you're intending? Where did you want this structure? Where did you want to sort of rotate this structure to? So this is particularly relevant for custom home builders, and a lot of builders are using this in terms of the question earlier about multi, showing this as an indicative granny flat as well, or a pool. So you're able to say, position this as the granny flat and say, this is the dimensions of the granny flat. And at least in the interim, I know it's not ideal, team, and I apologize for that, but at least it's some way of being able to show this house with a granny flat. Now we've got quite a few questions coming through, so I'll try to answer those. While you were talking about measuring tool, how do you stop the single line? It doesn't stop on our end. Another good question, and this is definitely something that we have to improve in terms of its usability. So the question was, how do you terminate a single line? And for those that have experienced this, it'll be quite frustrating. If you click the line, you're able to draw a line. That's self-evident. But if you double click on the last circle, it terminates. Now, team, again, we're improving the system day to day, and this is something that we definitely want to do. So if anyone's pressing any other button that won't terminate, you have to go back to this last dot and click, and it'll terminate. Once you know it, it's quite straightforward, but if you don't know it, it's hyper frustrating. So for who asked that question, I do apologize. I'm sure it sort of drove you a little bit crazy at that moment, but we are working to improve that as well. We've got another question by Roger. How do you use the measuring tool as a random measure from one point on the screen, etc.? Exactly in that same manner. Use the line tool. So if you want to measure from one point to another, use that line tool, click the measure, the little square, click the line tool. If you've got snap on, it'll snap to your build. So say, for instance, you want from that point to here, you know it's 5 meters on the dot, say 4.8, and then click and end, and then it'll give you that 4.82 precision. If you click on that, you can even change the color of that line, the thickness of that line. This is particularly relevant for those in the States that, in the United States, they really love to show septic lines, drainage, etc. And you can start using this to indicate to a client how that sort of looks and what linear meterage or square footage or feet to that measurement. Got a few other quick questions, which are, can you also rotate this? You can, okay, so we've got a question from David. In terms of rotating a design, if you go on the corner, on any corner of these shapes, you can rotate it. In terms of the line, if you go to the end, you can rotate it. So we are working on making sure that rotate icon isn't black because that's not the ideal color on many backdrops. But if you do rotate, if you can see there, my cursor's changed into a little rotate button and you can rotate. So hopefully that answers that question. In terms of other questions, I think we've covered most of those in the chat. How can I draw a polygon and place it over the floor plan? Brian, really good question. We are, in the next week, we're trying to improve that. Right now, we're making sure that the build type is over, but we got surprised to know how many of our clients are using this tool to measure out, say, a corridor or an individual bedroom. So next week, what you'll find is if you start measuring the polygon, starting from the plan, the system will know that you want this to be above the plan. So I apologize that we've taken this ability away in the last week. We're reintroducing it, but doing it a bit smarter so you can mark out things on that floor plan, especially. This is going to be reduced to highlighting a particular room or getting a square meter each to be able to apply, say, a tile allowance or something like that. Can you manually change the boundary yet? This is from Brett. Okay, in terms of the boundary, the question there is, can you change the boundary? Short answer is you can't change the dimensions of the boundary. You can only change the location of the boundary to align with the aerial image. Now this is very accurate, but imagine it wasn't. Say for instance, you want to change that boundary. You see a little padlock on the top. You're able to click that padlock and sort of move that floor plan and sort of that parcel or block of land in line with a fence line. Now, I don't recommend doing this often because traditionally what will happen is if you see this fence line here, the fence is off, the fence is crooked, the fence is, but on some rural blocks and in some parcels of land, and particularly those in the United States, where the projection system is a bit off, you're able to use this tool just to avoid the conversation with the client as to why my boundary line looks to be halfway into the house of the next door neighbor. So just to sort of move along, because there's quite a few points that I want to sort of raise, and I'll keep sort of jumping back and forth and happy to continue answering questions in terms of measuring tool. The other thing that I want to point out is if you look on the left, on the bottom left, this map view, you've got now a date on top. You're now able to see the date of this image. So this image is from the 5th of the 6th, so it's less than a month old. So now on your imagery, if you go to a site, you'll actually be able to know from what date that is. So we're disclosing that, which is also a nice feature. We are releasing in the next month the feature to see some historical imagery in regards to that, which is particularly relevant for our clients in areas where it snows, because if it snows, you won't be able to see the features. So therefore, we're being able to show historical photos as to when it's not snowing, so you can see those features. Got a few more chat requests. Will this apply in New Zealand as well? In terms of, yes, in terms of the map, the answer is yes. It's not the date, in terms of that map date, if that's the question, Rachel, the answer is yes. It might not apply to certain parts of New Zealand because some of the government imagery doesn't provide dates, they're a static date. However, in most of the metro areas, in many of the areas we do cover, about 99%, it should be there. So the best way to test out is put an address. And if it's not, feel free to reach out to me as well. I got another question from Jane. Understand it's a big job, but Can I Build is still working on local DCP guidelines for various councils for future use. This has been a brilliant tool in some areas. That's correct. I welcome anyone that if there's any limitations such as a council or a development that you want to see loaded in, do email support@canibuild.com. We do respond to those email requests and we do prioritize those requests. It's how we work. We don't try to promise that we'll load everything everywhere all the time. What we do promise is we load in what's been requested. So that's how we respond to our clients. So again, let me just quickly recalibrate my thoughts in terms of the next thing that I'll quickly show. And I'm happy for these sessions to be fluid in the way it is. So we've touched on Snap, we've touched on deals and being able to tag deals. We've touched on the date feature. While being a small feature improvement, it definitely is something that's beneficial. So you can at least have confidence as to the date that you're working on that aerial image. Now, the next thing and this is a good example of when to use deals. Imagine you did this and all these lines actually meant something relevant. You would just simply click the file cabinet and simply click new draft, or click these three dots, create a copy, and create a copy of these items for you to start changing, say, the floor plan or something, where you don't want to lose all these other details. So you can see here just above the highlighted, there's now a copied version, which you can now select. And then start modifying on this one and start modifying all the in terms of the designs, etc. So that's a quite neat feature. So let me just clear this and sort of jump into the next point that I want to sort of make. Now, one good thing that you're able to do on this system is take advantage of the marketplace that we've just launched. So what I'll touch on is, say for example, we click on an address. Let's just click on this one as well. And apologies for the mess that I've turned it into. So we've clicked on the design, we've added a floor plan, but let's just say we go to cart. Now, everyone would have seen cart before. There's quite a few things that you can do in cart. Now, you can generate your site plans, your CAD files, your flyers, which are zero cost items, and you see zero cost here. But what you're able to, and you see these titles and 10.7s, etc. But what you are able to do is you're able to turn this into a payment gateway. So rather than these being costs to the business, they can be actual items you on-sell to your clients. So how do you go about doing that? If you go to Hi Timothy and to admin, and again, you'll need administrative access to be able to do this. A quick plug to Nest. If we go to Market Catalog, here in Market Catalog, if you don't have access, this is just to let you know it exists. And then obviously this is more of a question for the business as to whether or not they take advantage of this feature. But here you've got your Market Catalog. Say we click on houses. You can see here, these are the site plan CAD files. These are those zero cost items that you saw on the front end. These are the 10.7s, titles, etc. And this relates to which jurisdiction that you're in. So if you're in Florida or California or WA or Queensland, we can turn on local title, local permit, local information for you to order. But this column here is the cost. So this is the can I build cost for purchasing these items. And these are the margins. Now you can add your own margin to these items to be able to produce a price. It is the price that is shown on the front end. So number one, you can use this to show the client that these list of items cost this on behalf of your company. There is no need to see the raw, no need to show the raw cost from us. So you can actually display the cost with your margin. But you can take this a step further. So let me just quickly show in terms of one of our clients that we can sort of log into and show on behalf of how this works. So essentially, if you're turning it into a payment gateway, you're able to associate this with a Stripe account, and we can sort of showcase how this works. So let's just start. We go to an address, outcome 78 Hood Street, Yaguna. We're dealing with a client, and I'll go through the case scenarios as to how clients are using this feature. So say, for example, this is a granny flat builder. We've got a granny flat build there. We go to cart. Now here you've got these items. Now the difference here is these items are now showing the price together with the margin. So say, for example, we click on these items because we're saying, to start the next step, we need to purchase these items. And you can add your own items in here as well. You click order, you see these items, you agree to T's and C's, and you go to checkout. Now, where it differs from what has worked before is you can now add a payment gateway, which is showing these items, and you've got your payment details where you can get the payment details from the client to kick this off. So this is a really fantastic way to be able to get that sort of commitment, that engagement. So say, for example, some case scenarios, you notice that a site is bushfire affected. You can have a bushfire certificate in the market list. You can order that, that item, the payment gateway will pop up, and it's a nice way to be able to engage the client. Or you can add your own first steps. The first step is a design consultation for $250. The first step is X, Y, Z. Or we notice that it's acid sulfate affected X, Y, and Z. So let's just kickstart with a BAL certificate and a bushfire and a geotech survey. And these are all items that can be added to the marketplace. So I wanted to really bring this to everyone's attention as this is an option, because this is definitely being used quite feverishly in some use case scenarios, especially on those smaller payments where builders are looking to get some sort of commitment to move to the next step. So I hope that makes sense. Following from here, if we go to the admin and we go to the marketplace, here we've got the margin where we've got, I had a small margin as an example here, so 82, 82.9. We've got clients that have margins on our zero cost items. So they couple, they group together the site plan, the CAD file, a few other items, and say all of these items are costing $1,000. and then they transact on that. Now, where does the money go? It's a really good question. The money goes directly to you as the seller. So the cost goes to Can I Build, but the margin goes directly to your account. Now, the way that's done is you'll need to set up a Stripe account. So if you've got a Stripe account, you'll be able to connect the Stripe account as a payment gateway, which means that when you transact that funds, the margin goes directly to your company's account. The cost goes to Can I Build, and you'll be able to transact that margin. If you log into your Stripe dashboard, you'll be able to very quickly see the funds that you generate as part of that transaction. And here I've just done the one for this example, but you can imagine this starts showing all those transactions and what you've paid out to yourself, which is quite good. So that was the marketplace piece. I've got a few questions in regards to this. Can you use it to send an invoice to the client versus having to put it in their credit card details? Good question. Right now, it's not set up in that way, but it's definitely something that I'll like to sort of flesh out to with you guys. So you're coming, I'm recording all these questions. I'm happy to sort of come back and flesh it out. So the question basically is, rather than go straight to a credit card payment, can we issue an invoice? The short answer is yes, because we've got integrations into backend systems such as Dynamics, Xero, MyOb, etc. So it's already getting fed into those systems in terms of recording the payments and recording the invoices. So it'll be a very easy step to go to the next step. That being said, you'll be able to generate an invoice automatically from your end as well. We got another quick question from Shane. From Shane, is it possible to take the money through the portal but use our own service providers, aka entirely the money goes to us and we go and pay our own consultants? Yes, you can add your own items. You don't need to use our items. Like the ethos in Can I Build is we're not trying to stranglehold our clients in using a certain way. So we understand constructions are quite complex and interconnected industry. So the question is essentially, can we use our own guys and can we pay our own guys? Does it have to go through Can I Build? The answer is no. We give you the ability to add items in that list to transact on. So that's the simple answer there, and we're not changing our ethos in that regards. There's another question from Brian. Sorry, I missed this one. The shadowed building envelope and setbacks, are these flexible? Brian, in terms of the setbacks, they're flexible in terms of you're able to switch between, say, for example, when you're in New South Wales, between CDC and the DCP. And it's a good question, because what I'll do is I'll showcase what you can do on corner blocks as well, which is typically where you want to sort of change those setbacks. But the setbacks are correct. So if they're not correct, I'll love to be able to speak to you and see where it's sort of, where you find the need to want to change those. So going back into this view, you're able to now see in terms of the billing usage, those payouts. I've sort of touched on that. This is your Stripe account, not ours, so it's completely independent. To set up the account, if you haven't got one, it takes about 10 minutes, and our team is happy to work you through that as well. So jumping back, and I hope all that made sense to everyone. So let me just quickly jump back to my main demo account. Got another quick question. Will setback for New South Wales be in place as well? Yes, definitely, Rachel. If it's not being shown right now, I'll get that done by this afternoon. So this is something in New Zealand, we've rolled out a lot of data points in the last 2 weeks on behalf of one of our major clients. If you're not seeing setbacks, I want to have that sorted by this afternoon. So we'll reach out to you, Rachel, and give you a call after this session. So that's not something I want to sort of delay on. All right, so going back, I've got a few questions that even my own staff is asking me to things. So I've got upload plans mentioned. Yeah, with the upload plans, how are we doing with time? I'll quickly show that. So let's quickly do an upload. So if we go to admin, we go to design catalog, say it's a house. There's these 3 dots on the side of Hi Timothy. We click add item. And this is something that we're happy to do as a courtesy to our clients. So, but just to show you how it works, because you might want to do a variation to an existing plan, or you've drawn something up, which is a one-off, and you just want to be able to show that, or the client brings in their own plans and you want to sort of showcase that through the system. You click on the file. Now this file could be a snip, it could be you know, a screenshot, it could be the PDF, it doesn't matter. So as soon as you select the file, it's actually instructing you what to do. So just crop the item. So you'll be able to go around, crop that. And while I do this, I'll probably touch on in terms of COVID. I hope everyone's not going too crazy for those with a few kids at home like me. I'm sure the timing with school holidays, especially here in New South Wales, has been absolutely fantastic. So hopefully everyone's maintaining their sanity as well. So here you're able to sort of highlight, when it's in this pink level, you're able to sort of modify these nodes to sort of make sure it's exactly as you want. Simply close this side drawer, click on the scissors, that'll crop the floor plan. So you can see how easy it is to do that. Now the cursor is instructing you on what to do next. Next, draw a line to scale. So you have to have a known measurement. So here, I know that the width of this plan is 9.5. So you type 9.5 in the box. On the right-hand side, you'll give this a design name. So webinar example. You'll be able to say it's a house. You'll be able to say it's a single story. You'll be able to say it's a single story. You'll be able to put in your price. $3.99. The area is 250 square meters. Now, all you have to do now is click the little green tick at the top. Click on that. And now if I go to houses, type in webinar test, you'll be able to see that here as that 250 square meter, actually is the last one. Webinar example, $3.99, it's there. If I go back to the front end, let's go to the rarely visited 78 Hood Street, Yaguna. By the way, I don't know who lives here, so please don't knock on the door thinking that they're associated with us. So here we've got this design. Let's just click designs and let's just see if that pops up. So you should be able to see that design. So just give it a few seconds to finish loading up. While that's loading, I've got a few other questions. What about mobile payments? Yes, the system works on mobile, so you'll be able to take mobile payments. If you're talking about mobile payments in terms of tap, Stripe has options for you to be able to take advantage of that. If you're talking about being able to transact while on the go, say on your iPad, then yes, you're able to do that. In terms of tap, you'll have to facilitate those functions on your end in terms of the devices, etc. I hope that answered your question. If I've misunderstood, feel free to let me know. How are we doing for time? Pretty good. And thank you for everyone that's stayed on. Like pretty much everyone that's logged in has stayed on to the end. So I really appreciate you staying on for so long. So here, if we type in webinar, we've got that webinar example. I click the webinar example and we've positioned that design. And then you're able to start doing exactly as per any other. So this could have been any design. It could have been any method. It could have been a supply plan that you scanned. We've even got some clients that take photos and they try to line it up. They've even got like a scan feature on their photo, which flattens things out. They send the image in, they crop it, but you can see how simple it is to do this on the fly. So even under the pressure of doing it live on the webinar, it's pretty straightforward. We've got a few other chat questions. Okay, we've got him. Yep. Okay, so this is from Elise, who, those of you that's worked with Elise, she handles all our UX. So how can I build work? How can I build looks and feels is all thanks to Elise. So she's a tremendous asset to our team. So the question she was basically saying relates to flyers. So she's just trying to remind everyone that when you generate flyers, which you can do by going to cart and clicking flyer, really the quality in how these present is based on the attributes you provide. So what she means is if you go to admin and you go to design catalog and you click on the house, say we go on the one that we just uploaded, webinar example. If you edit this, the flyer is really driven by the description you provide. So if you don't provide a description, it'll look bare. If you don't provide dimensions and attributes, which you can see at the top, see all of these, which I didn't bother doing for this example. If you apply these are the attributes that feed into the flyer in terms of that attribute column. If you provide numbers of stories, bedrooms, these are the attributes that also filter into the filters. So if you don't have these, the filters won't work. And you've got bedrooms, garages. For those larger clients that are using it and they are unaware of this, we can bulk update these attributes on your behalf. You've got al frescos, porch areas. These are those dimension boxes that that I talk about. And if anyone's seen my demo, and I always mention that the al fresco, I'm a bit lazy. That's only because it was the first one. But if you add that and the garage, etc., these will come up. Eave sizes. The eave size is particularly relevant to our Queensland clients. So the setbacks are projected to the furthest out point of the roof. So the only way the system knows that is if you provide an eave size to your plans. So by doing that, now that when you generate flyers, that will sort of start presenting a lot better. Because a lot of clients are saying, hey, we've seen a flyer that looks really great. How did that happen? Realistically, one of the biggest steps is to be able to do those attributes, or else it'll just look bare because there's nothing to show. So I think we've covered most of the questions. I think we've covered most of the chat. And let me just jump to Facebook just to make sure that there wasn't any sort of questions hanging around there. There hasn't, so which is good. So let me just get back to where I am. So, all right. So just to recap in terms of what we've covered today, and feel free to ask any questions that you feel like I haven't sort of touched on or I've forgotten to get back to you on. But we've talked about the snap, which is obviously a major convenience sort of feature. We've talked about, and just one thing that I do want to touch on, because we do have a lot of pool clients. I just wanted to quickly show how this pool feature works, especially for our concrete pool builders. You can do a curve, and this is relevant to home builders as well. They just want to be able to show how the pool's going to look and not care about the pool because they want to sort of move on to talking about the house. So if you click on this curved feature, which is highlighted here, say you wanted to do a kidney pool, you're able to just first outline the general structure of the kidney pool. Don't worry that it's straight lines. Then complete it by this way, and you've got this kidney pool. Then you can edit this, and these nodes, you're able to sort of drag and start modifying the shape of that kidney pool, which is, in my view, quite intuitive and quite nice in how it does it. You can even go as far as being really sort of have geometric components to this pool. So if you click on a node rather than dragging it, you can actually square that up. Let me just take snap off. You can square that up and have a geometric section. If you wanted to, you can make the whole part geometric and start showing that. So it's a really nice way of, especially concrete pool builders, to be able to show how that works. And then obviously you'll be able to change the color. So I didn't want those of you that do pools to think that I've forgotten you guys either. And then you can sort of increase the thickness of that line for coping and be able to show from that perspective, which is quite nice. I've got a few chats as well. Do we get a link to session to pass on to? Yeah, everything that's this is recorded, we'll be uploading it to YouTube. You just have to give it an hour or so after this session because it takes quite a long time to sort of upload the size of the file. And just remember that these sessions are the first Thursday at 11 o'clock every month. So we try to go through all the questions that we've received over that month. We try to gravitate to those points. I really hope this doesn't feel like a sales session. It's not about that. It's just to reconnect with you guys in terms of getting our finger on the pulse in terms of any issues or any questions that you might have, to showcase the functionality of some features that we're getting a lot of support questions for, just to be able to recap that. And as always, if anyone needs to get in contact with us, if you email support@canibuild.com, we're definitely hyper reactive to that as well. So I think I have covered most of the points. I think I've given you an insight as to the new features that are coming for home builders, the big ones, double story. So hopefully for the next webinar session, we'll be able to showcase that and run through its functionality. I imagine that there'll be a full house on that one. And in terms of our pool builders in New Zealand, we're rolling out a lot of data for our pool builders in Cairns. The data is impeccable. You'll have utilities, easements, the whole lot. In Sunshine Coast, and in terms of our pool builders in Florida, we've rolled out data in Jacksonville, Orlando. We've got Florida Keys, which was an interesting sort of area to be able to have a lot of those data points in. California, we keep on going from strength to strength in terms of our clients, and for anyone that's on the system on this session from California, definitely hello. So in the Q&A, I'm just touching, sorry, I missed the answer. Some of the clients have 100-meter long blocks and need 3 houses. Can we place 3 designs? Vickers, that'll be multi, that's next month. We're trying to do both showing that as well as including that in the rules. So when you click this rule tab, it'll take into account the multiple structures, but by next month, you'll be able to show it. So pool builders will be able to show a pool and a spa. Home builders will show a home and a granny flat, or 3 homes, or 3 pools, or 3 pools and 3 homes and 3 sheds. So that'll be next month, and that's definitely probably even more in demand than the double story, to be honest. So if any other questions from anyone, any last points anyone wants to sort of quickly ask, I'll definitely hang around and ask any and try to answer any questions. I'll just quickly see, Nick has sent a note, please. Okay, one of Nick and Sid, who handles a lot of our support questions, they ask everyone to check their junk mail. They're noticing that a lot of our correspondence, not marketing correspondence, response to support questions are going to junk for some reason. So you might have to whitelist our domain. So they're noticing that a lot. And then in terms of probably the last thing I'll sort of point to, next month we're looking to have 500 estates loaded up on the system, but I just, for those of you that know Jim, he's sitting right next to me and he's nudging me on the shoulder and say, show estates, show estates. We're up to 353. That's on queue for next month to be 500. In Victoria, we've loaded some 107 in the last 30 days. We've been challenged by one of our clients to load in 300, and we're accepting the challenge. So that's going to be queued up for tomorrow, for next month as well. So if I zoom in, you can see the number of estates. So we're quite proud of being by far and above the #1 resource to being able to see estates anywhere in the country. So if there's estates that aren't here that you want to see here, just email support@canibuild.com and we'll definitely load those in. Is Canberra up yet? Yes, Canberra's up. Canberra rules are up, setbacks are up for granny flats and houses. So that's, you know, incredibly sort of a good development. Granny flats got launched 2 weeks ago. We've got developments Taylor, Whitlam in Canberra, so it's definitely rolling, and also Canberra side setbacks are there, which is always a interesting sort of creative approach to side setbacks. And anyone here in South Australia as well, guys, my sympathies. Your setback rules are second to none, but that's live as well. So anyone in South Australia, you can definitely use the application for that purpose as well. So any person want to sort of raise any sort of points that they're hoping I can cover in the next session, or any suggestions to make these sessions a lot more beneficial? You can be as harsh or as glowing as you like. So I'd love to get that feedback, just so I can keep making these sessions better and better month to month. Very exciting from Elizabeth. Elizabeth just signed up with us, which is really good, and she's just saying thanks for the session. So Liz, really appreciate you having putting the trust in us and using the system. And as always, please reach out. Mark, fantastic product. The checks are in the mail. We'll use the payment gateway, and I'll start paying you all through Stripe. So thanks for all the positive feedback. So it really does make the effort worthwhile. The entire team is working pretty hard to make this happen, and I hope you get the sense that we do care about the industry. Construction's tough enough as it is. It's made tougher with things like COVID. It's made tougher with trying to balance out all the competing stakeholders and being able to make sure that we address client concerns and requirements from the sales all the way to the end. Jacqueline Vork, yep. She's definitely from Canberra, and one of our Canberra granny flat builders. Definitely worth a call if someone's interested in building down there for a granny flat. Appreciate your trust again. So please, guys, look forward to seeing everyone next month. Again, in that time being, feel free to reach out to us with anything, any questions, and we'll try to do this better and better month to month as we go along. So for those of you that stuck along all the way to the end, thank you. Thank you for using the system, and enjoy, keep safe, wear your masks, and I'll definitely see you next month, first Thursday at 11 o'clock. Thanks, David. Really appreciate it. Take care, Jane, everyone. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the words. Jane, thank you. I'll definitely call everyone that I promised to call. If not myself, someone from the team. Andrew, everyone, thanks very much. I'll stop the share so I can smile and wave. Thanks, everyone. Really, really appreciate the time. Take care and keep safe.